I like to think that my private life is very much, very much the same as my business life. You know, I always loved the business. I've always been. We're coming on. We'll be coming on to retirement. The things that people have sort of says. So what are you going to do? I said, I'm not sure. I really don't know. Well, you'll have to get a hobby. But I've just given up my hobby, and I've been paid for it. You hear musicians who say they'd play for nothing. I'll tell you something. It comes down to where I retired. I will come back to the other things as well. But when I retired, somebody asked for help. Now, in my business life, I would go that extra mile. I would go to work. I would, and there are many times when I have actually been wanting to talk to a gentleman. He said, "Well, I'm actually going down on the works, and I'm really struggling for time." I said, "Well, is this something I really need to talk to you about?" I said, "Hang on, I'll put my lab coat on, and I'll come down with you." Well, if you're
So
going to
is
do
it
that,
something like this that is it true that you retired twice?
yes.
Tell me more about this.
Well, I retired in. Perhaps you didn't hear about my first retirement, but I retired from a company called Kramer.
A lot of listeners are not necessarily in the industry that we activate,
No,
and they are
no.
also not
Okay.
aware about the names. But what I would like to see and to hear from you is what exactly retirement means in the first place. And secondly is what were your thoughts between the first and the second retirement?
Well, when I retired first time, it was difficult for me, because I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready.
I was not ready. No, no. But I retired because of a personality clash.
So you were kind of forced to retire.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. I was forced to retire, and it was not in a pleasant way, I have to say, because all the people, and wonderful people they were, made a DVD for me, and I still have it, and I still play it, and all those people I look at as friends. I mean, I was lucky enough to go on safari with them into Africa, and the gentleman where we stayed. Well, you know, he's a smashing guy. I'm still in touch with him. He sends me messages, and
So
you know.
you're still in contact with the first colleagues and with the business partners, and then you retired, and from one day to the other, you stayed home, I guess.
I didn't stay home.
You
I
didn't.
can't. No,
So what
no.
did you do?
What did I do? Somebody rang me and said, I've got a bit of a problem. Um, can you help me? I said, well, I'll do my best. Yes.
Kind of like jumping again on a business life?
Well, yes, but I did it for free. There was no money involved. I liked the person, but I could see he was going about things in the wrong way, and he didn't. He needed a lead for how to look at certain aspects of things. And he was a research chemist. He worked for a very big company, and he left, and he set up his own business of in the uh, cosmetics industry.
So you
And
were kind of a pro bono consultant.
yes, yes, I was. Yes, and I always said, "You're always welcome. Give me a ring if ever you need me." You know, it's there. I still have the knowledge. The one thing I've always wanted to do was, after 50 odd years in the industry, I have so much knowledge about things. I can be a pain at dinner parties. somebody starts off on something, and then my wife will go, "Here he goes." Here he goes.
But then when you retired the second time, you were told that you should find yourself a hobby.
For when that was the second time, but it wasn't something that I wasn't doing. It was something that the problem is that if you turn a hobby into business, it's no longer a hobby. and
It's a
I
business.
always it's a business, but as business was always my hobby, and I had so many experiences which I could turn into advice for people that where I'd had things which had gone wrong, worked out the answers and such like, if you will, to stop people reinventing the wheel, to stop them wasting the money. And
Is
so
it hard to stop the people reinventing the wheel?
no, I have realized that youth comes along and they want to remake the world, and they do that, but their only way to do it is to do things which have already been done, and they do it and think, and I always
In a
say
different way, maybe.
in a different way, improvements. But and that's fine. I have no problem with that. Reinvent the wheels. I'm waiting for somebody to reinvent one which is still square and still runs like a circle, But it'll happen one day in a different form. There is something about allowing. You've got to let youth have its way. You've got to encourage them and say, yeah, okay, I think, yeah, tell you what, try that and see how it works. And if it doesn't, think about it as to why. I can probably tell you why, but you go and do it. I've done it with all my children. I say all my children. I've got four children. One who is now. I'm very proud of all of them. I'm very proud of all of them. Two of them work for the NHS in a caring environment. One as an occupational therapist, another one as well. She's hit the heights of running one of the care as a leader in one of the care systems, and she does an awful lot of work on prescription work, and before the doctors can actually pass it out.
What is one advice that you gave to your children?
What do I advise today?
Yeah, maybe one advice that you gave already or that you would like to give.
It's what I say to everybody and every adult. Be happy. Because if you're not happy, you're going to have a miserable life. Be happy. And that I can only, it's the greatest gift that there is.
So,
Being
how
happy.
to find happiness in a world that tends to give less and less reasons to be happy?
Well, I think that also takes me back to my personality, really, that you've got to turn negatives into positives. There's always for every action there's a reaction.
And how do you do it?
Oh, you're asking difficult questions here. How do I do? Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I always try and find a way for if somebody sort of um, I don't know. It gives me a question or a problem where
I
there.
give you the problem. I know exactly what the others might listen to. There are out there in the World Wide Web a lot of people that actually would like to retire and they are simply afraid of. I'm still in the middle of my career and I've been meeting a number of people that have been turning the business in a hobby and into a passion and that have been never thinking to the moment of retirement. I personally think that going into retirement takes a lot of courage because those doors that have all the time being open there for us as employees or as self-employed might one day shut without any understanding. And I think this is something very many people are afraid of. And turning this retirement can be a very negative thing to some people and can be a blessing to others. So that's the problem. And I know that you have a happy retirement, and I would like you to let us know how have you done this.
You've always got to treat things with an open mind. You've never, it's a mistake that a lot of people make, I think, that they are so black and white, there are no areas of gray, that they can't move out of the boundaries of where they are. And life isn't black and white, far from it. There's a lot of color in life. I think I have friendships. People say I have an awful lot of acquaintances, many acquaintances. I've been a member of a great club, a worldwide club called Round Table.
So you have a very rich social life.
I have had, yes. The last 2 years have been kind of put a kibosh on it a little bit. But yes, I've had a rich that. I've been in Rotary. I spent 8 years in Rotary, and but I carried all these on whilst I was also working. But I fitted them round the work because I always remembered who was paying my wages and paying for my time, and that's a loyalty that one has to give. But my friends, my very good friends, are people I might not see for a long time, but when I do see them, we pick up where we left off, as if we've never been apart. And it's I don't know. I'm gregarious. I like to talk. I like to. Some people might say I'm nosy. Even you're always asking questions. I do ask questions.
So you have a social life. You have friends. You are gregarious.
Yeah.
What else? How do you feel your time up?
How do I fill my time up? Well, I read. I read a lot. I love music. I have a clarinet here where I'm only in the early stage, but I enjoy picking it up and playing it. I have
So you
children.
play an instrument?
Yes. My biggest instrument has been my voice. I used to sing. I still do sing because I was invited back at Christmas to go, because I used to do a bit of opera at one time, and my voice is still pretty good. My breathing and that is a little bit weaker than it used to be, but I practice with it. I enjoy singing when people are not listening at times, but I have a good voice, and I get asked to sing. It's good. It's good for relaxation. When I take the dog out into the countryside to go for walks, I will sing. I've been caught out singing when I used to have to go and sing at where I'd been asked to sing. I used to practice in the car when I was driving, from on work.
So you are really this be happy is really this walk the talk. You have a happy retirement life. This is
so.
what I hear.
I think so.
Let me ask you one thing, and if you don't want to answer, that's also fine.
Go on.
What was your biggest fear before retiring for good?
Being at home so much. The reason was because I spent a lot of time away from home. So I got used to having my own company and having peace and quiet when I wanted it, But in order to do that, I had to have a wife who was understanding, because she had 4 children to bring up when I wasn't here. And it was but she's done a smashing job. She's done a tremendous job on it. And I have often wondered how I've been married to her for 54 years. It'll be 54 years my anniversary this year. How has she put up with me so long?
And how did she do it?
Because she loved me.
Oh, easy.
It's
So
easy.
easy.
It is as easy as that. And you know, and I say sometimes I think she's probably despaired of me, because my hobby was work, and I was always work, and my conversations were always work, always about this, that, and the other. And you know,
So you had at home a business as usual.
home was business as usual. Yes, yes, yes. And I think, yeah, it must have been hard on reflection. It must have been hard for her. Must have been very hard for her. And but having said that, no, she's a cracking girl, and she's put up with me, and that in itself is really quite an achievement. Quite an achievement. So yes, and yeah, we have both hoped to sort of make our 80s and 90s. You know, it's be quite a nice thing to do. I'm not ready to go yet.
Oh.
I don't think she is, and she's very busy.
So you are both busy. You keep yourself busy with a number of things, with a number of people. You go out. You're not isolated from the rest of the world.
No.
Because I have heard, and again, for me it's a learning curve. I decided for myself, I don't want to wait until my late 60s or 70s before I retire. I think retiring is a continuous process, and it has to start somewhere where the list and the agenda is always full, if we want it.
Yes. You're absolutely right. I mean, there are times when I thought, why on earth do I do this? You know. And then I can get it. I used to get a little bit down because people were being silly. They didn't understand me, and I used to go away. Well, it could be
so
you.
How do you put yourself up when you feel down?
I kick myself up my own backside.
Oh.
I do a self-analysis and say, look, what's going wrong? Why are you being like that? You know, I can do this. I can take the dog for a walk, and I can come back, have a bit of a sing whilst I'm out, and come back, and it's all settled down and everything else. You just have to get rid of the pressures. What people don't understand is people can work under pressure. People work under pressure more now than they ever did, I think.
Yeah.
Because everything now is in an emergency, if you understand what I mean. At one time you could write a letter and you might get a reply 3 weeks later. If you used to, I mean, the art of writing letters is it's difficult. I've tried it myself since the computers. I mean, I never got into computers till I was 50 anyway, and I'm self-taught. It's one of the things. But the only way I could actually get into computers was to take one apart and then put it back together again.
But you stayed aligned, right? So I mean, through all these changes along the years, whether this was the business life, the gadgets, the tools that one was using, you were always catching up.
Yes, I was always running behind, never ahead of the game, because it was moving too fast for me. Technology got away, and even now. I'm not the best technologist, but I can lend my hand to it. But it's about using common sense to find answers. You know, brainstorming, using other people, asking. One of the things I find most annoying is, and it's something I used to say to my sales reps when there was I'd say, you don't know the answer to that, do you? I've just asked you a question. Can you answer that? And I always turn around and say to them, listen, don't be embarrassed about not knowing. And I used to say to them, what is the silliest question? And they'd look at me in horror. Come on, what's the silliest question? Well, I don't know. It says, it's the one you never ask.
I was going to think myself, okay, what is the silliest question?
It's the
It's
one
the
that
one you never ask.
it's
Yeah.
the one thing that you never ask, because you will find on occasions that people, if they follow that through and they ask somebody the question, they'll actually find out that, in fact, the person you're asking the question of, that you think thinks you're silly because you've never asked the question, doesn't know the answer themselves. And I've found that on numerous occasions. So why have I got to be embarrassed? And that when I was out selling, I always used to try to be very truthful with my customers. Um, I was taught to be truthful. My father, being a minister and of the cloth, and we always went to church, and we always did. You know, I'm not a saint by any means. Believe you me, I'm not a saint. I used to be a terrible flirt with the girls, I have to say. You know, I always get told off for that.
But you
Sheila,
say, I mean, you talked about the trust, you talk about the
of
confidence,
course,
you talk
of course,
about the being open, and also not being shy of saying, I don't know the answer.
that's right.
I think it takes also a lot of courage to ask self-reflective questions on where you make a self-analysis, and you know where you are, where you'd like to be, what
Mhm.
could potentially be changed.
Well, when a certain gentleman rang me one Christmas and said to me, Rodney, we haven't spoken to each other for a long time. I said, yeah, I know, John. I know. I've just sent you a Christmas greeting. He said, yes, I know. He said, oh, I've got a question to ask you. I said, go on. And my wife walked in and she said, is that a certain Mr. John? And I said, yes, it is. And she said, the answer's no, John. And I said, right, now she's gone. What do you want me to do?
So you were all the time there ready to do business,
I was.
even
And
on Christmas Day.
even on Christmas Day. And that Mr. John asked me whether I would do him a very big favor. And that was to build a business in the UK.
And let me ask you something, Rodney, as we are approaching the end of the second episode, where we mostly talked about retirement and about
Yes.
business that ends as a hobby at the end. It's not a 9 to 5. It has never been for you. What is the legacy that you work on?
Don't be afraid of hard work. Look at opportunities. You never know where they're going to lead you. It might not lead you to where the opportunity is there for you, but it might take you then open your mind to other things, and you might see other opportunities. Never throw away an opportunity. And it to me, it's the way life is. It's the way you just got to continue, and opportunities present themselves in different ways. You can see something that needs happening. My wife is she's a busy girl. She really is, and I I know what her diary is, and this is one of the things that when I feared when I was going to retire. This was one of the things: getting a life back with the person that you married, and when all the children have gone, all of a sudden, where's the conversation? Where's the common interest? You know, what do you talk about? And that is a fear sometimes, that, and yet I've always thought, well, actually, I can look at you. I don't have to say anything. And sometimes the message goes in between. I can sit there, and she'll sit down and look at me, and smile, and I'll just do exactly the same. Although I'll look back and I'll smile.
Oh,
It's
this is
it's
beautiful.
it's better to have that kind of relationship. And then I'll say, I mean, first thing I do when I wake up is, what's the what's the routine for today? And she'll say, I'm at dementia group, where volunteers. And I've one of the things which came up, which it was an opportunity, but it was a necessary opportunity for me as well, which took me into a friend of mine who got dementia, and obviously his time was limited. And usually, when dementia strikes, it's usually about a life sentence of about seven years before that person is no longer with you. And preparing for that is very difficult. And this guy went from a very broad education. He ran his own company. He was what do they call it? It was a planning officer, if you will, and he was a marvelous guy, wonderful. He used to go out with Round Table, and he used to go out to Africa for water aid, and the money he could make, he would spend. He raised a lot of money, and he used to go out and visit the places where he used to send his money and his donations to. I do something at the moment which I contribute on a monthly basis to a society which sends money to Africa.
So you are donating, and you are also working as a volunteer.
Yes, this volunteer business for me with this man who died. It was quite difficult, but I always look at it and say, well, really, it's not a problem for me. I like the guy so much, and whilst he changed and he got worse and worse. And in the end, he couldn't talk. It happens with dementia patients, and they lose their mind, they lose everything. And that's the sad thing. You see the mind disappearing, and what they used to be like. And such a vibrant man he was. He was tremendous. The amount of volunteer work he did, the amount of money he raised, and I've had well, when he died, it was a case of, what about his wife, the one left behind? And we tried to be there for them as well, and this is what you do for friends. It's something that it's very, very, very important to me.
The course of life, right? It's not.
Well,
we don't live only for ourselves.
No, we don't. We live for everybody. And what happens here, there is a reaction down the line somewhere. I have another friend who used to work with me when I was in the biocides industry. And I used to stay with him on business. Instead of charging the company money, I used to go and stay with him anyway. And I said, my house is open. You come here if you want to come and stay with me. I had a young lady called Christina who came across from Germany. And she stayed in the cottage.
So you have described and told a little bit the story with the beginning, with all these years of experience. And as we approach the end, I would like you, because I was asking you about the legacy, and I would like you to send a message to those that are listening to us, to those that are dedicating their life to business, and to those that are considering business as usual part of their life.
The message I would give for people who are in business is be true to yourself, be true to your employer. Give them all the loyalty that you can. You will find it returned in spades. Not necessarily in the way that you think, but it will help you as you go along through life. Just be loyal to your friends. Be caring. It's when I had one particular person who I've known for years and years and years and years. You might know him, probably do. But he actually turned to me one day and he said, I love you. And I looked at him and I said, Yeah, and I love you too. And it was just, we're like brothers. And I still think of him like that. Never see him these days. It's unfortunate. Send him a WhatsApp these days because this is what you can do. But he appears occasionally. And then
So you
it's,
say, be true to yourself, be true to your friends, stay loyal
yes,
to the employers, stay
absolutely.
loyal to the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Use
Thank you so much.
mentors. Oh, well, I do have mentors. And I think I found one in you to a certain extent with the writings that you do. And I look at them and think, wow.
Thank you, Rodney. I
Yeah.
think it's part of all of us that we take a lot from the society, and comes a time where we try to give back, each individual, each in a community, and this is our way to give it back.
Yeah. Well, there is a saying that is very, very true. Judge not, lest you be judged. And it's very true. Too easy to jump to conclusions without facts.
Yeah,
And I always say to people, well, yeah, but that might only be half the story. You don't know what's behind it. Don't judge until you know the facts.
yeah, right.
And
Thank you very much, Rodney. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your dedication, and keep up doing your agenda. Hope to catch up soon.
I hope we do. I hope we do.